Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Come on!
Live from New York, New York. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to New York City. I'm here at my mom's house. I'm doing my audiobook. I sat and recorded. They told me, the publisher was like, well, you're going to have to do this. It's going to take like 2 weeks. You're going to have to do this for, maybe 3 hours a day to sort of baby your voice.
That's not how I work.
No, 3 hours a day. Are you kidding me? I knocked out 8.5 hours yesterday nonstop. I could have done 3 more. I was like, are you kidding? I don't do many things in this world well, but I can talk. I can talk.
How far through the book did you get?
150 pages.
How many pages are there?
340, I think.
So you could finish it today.
Maybe.
All right.
And it's out in Brooklyn, but I decided to walk. It's a nice, beautiful walk.
You walk to Brooklyn.
Walk to Brooklyn from Battery Park City. It's like an hour and a half. Across the Brooklyn Bridge. Reminisce. Walk by my old place in Brooklyn Heights. Walk by my old neighborhood. Walk by my brother's house.
Okay.
Walk through the Italian neighborhoods. Anyway, how are you?
Good.
Miss Mary, everything good at home?
Yeah, everything's great.
What did you do last night?
Rooney and I watched a movie together.
Oh, okay, good.
Played some ping pong as well. He beat me like every time.
He's
The
good
worst
at
part
ping-
is he was like going easy on me to keep me engaged to the game. So it would be like tied up and then like he'd pull out a little, then I'd tie it up again. And then I realized after like the second game, I was like, oh, wait a sec.
He's going to play real bad, and then he's going to put up wages. Then he's going to start putting up, oh, let's do it for
Your kid's a
$1.
hustler.
He's a little hustler, man. I didn't teach him. He just hustled on his own. Kastuba, how are you?
Good.
He said remember last year when he goes, I'm going to start a GoFundMe account. I was like, for what? He goes, just for me. Kastuba, let me go fund you. What do you need? What do you need for Christmas?
I really can't think of anything, Raghunath. Thank you, though.
All right. Well, what's up? What's up, Mara? Give me an announcement, please.
All right. We have Bhakti Recovery Group meetings today at 12:30 and at 1 o'clock Eastern time. And today's Cult of Cain, Josh Kane's asana class for our Patreon members at 10:30 a.m.
There we go.
All right.
I'll pull a Sadhguru on you, Raghunath. You can ask me, like, what do I want for Christmas?
What do you want for Christmas, Sadhguru?
Nothing.
Okay, that's good. Oh, that's so deep. He wants nothing. Guru Maharaj wants nothing.
That's
But actually something.
Nothing.
Nothing. I need nothing.
Nothing.
Okay. This is from
Nugget.
Here's our nugget today. Can I?
Who's it from?
Can I read our nugget?
Who's it from, Raghunath?
This is from your favorite and mine, Kahlil Gibran.
Yeah, this is from the
Khalil,
Prophet.
was Kahlil was he Persian?
from
Yeah.
Iran? Okay.
This is from the prophet, and it's the chapter where I edited it down just a little bit. But this is from where, well, you'll see where he's asked, where the prophet is asked about children. Tell us what you can
Okay.
speak about children.
This is pretty famous, I think.
Yeah.
We've quoted it before. And a woman who held a babe against her bosom said, "Speak to us of children." And he said, "Your children are not your children. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You are the boughs from which your children.
Boast.
Oh, I'm sorry. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. For even as he loves the arrows that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. I want to hear what you have to say about this one first.
Well, there are quite a few sections to this, weren't there? I mean, the first part was pretty clear that your children are of your own, that they come through you.
Yeah.
But just even that is profound, that
That's
they
a
come
big
through you,
one.
they're not of you. And that they are with you, but they do not belong to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. Isn't that the truth, Raghunath? Yes?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. That doesn't mean we should. Some people are just like, well, we're going to let this kid grow up feral. No, of course, or sometimes people say, well, you teaching your kids all this Krishna stuff. Yeah, of course you are. Of course you're going to instill values and moral guidelines and way to
I
move
think
in
the
this
end
world.
speaks to that in a sense.
Yeah, but
that's
I'm just saying this is how people sometimes will come after me. Let's say you're gonna indoctrinate your kids with all this stuff. Everybody indoctrinates their kids. That's of course we want to think like, okay, what do I have that's actually valuable? I want to give that to my kids. Of course we do. But there has to be a little breathing room for them to be their own people. And of course, sometimes their own personhood is, I want nothing to do with you or the way you think whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's when we really know they're not our kids.
So then you may house their bodies, but not their souls. For their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow.
What does that mean?
Which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams, right? Your kids are going to go off into a life that, in a sense, you can't even experience, And then when it speaks about the bows, to me, this speaks to what you were saying, that the way he phrases it, let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. If I understand that correctly, I think what he's saying is be happy just being God's instrument in this dynamic that's taking place, right? Children are coming through you. You have the opportunity to send them off, as an instrument in the hands of God, and be happy. Don't be sad for what you can't influence, but be happy for what you can provide through your stability, through your training, through your example. That they get sent off, hopefully with as strong a foundation as possible, and then ultimately, no matter what, you have to let go. And that's what we're going to read about today in Bhagavatam with King Chitraketu, that in his moment of grief, when he's cracked wide open, a couple of A-list sages stop in on him, and they start to share this kind of knowledge.
I like how you write that, A-list sages.
A-list
Not
sages.
like these B-rate sages coming along.
Well,
These are
there's
the
gonna be-
A-list sages.
There's going to be a list of the A list. The A list will be listed if we'll probably get there today.
Yeah.
Um,
This is
I
like
don't
the
know.
red carpet of sages.
They're well known. They're spoken about widely.
Mm.
And they're going to share this kind of knowledge, and it's going to give him relief. It's going to help him. This knowledge, although sometimes it sounds a little, I don't know if cold is the right word, but it's the kind of discernment that gives relief. And the king will feel it. King Chitriketu will feel it.
You know, it's
Shall we
the
dive in?
bit. What's that?
Go ahead.
I was going to say it's the biggest. I was going to say plagues myself. I guess it plagues everybody. The biggest illusion of this desire to control everything. And it's because that's what Krishna does. That's what the God does. God is the ultimate controller, the Ishwara. So our little God project where we're trying to control our environment. And we get to this point of this breakdown. 12 steps all about this too. It's like we can't control everything. We can't we control very little. And when you have a kid coming through you, it's almost as if you can control them. Like they're so little, and they listen to you. And then they, and then you discipline them and you instruct them. And then they're like little versions of yourself. Sometimes they even look just like you.
Mini me.
And they're like mini me's. Yeah. And you have a little bit of control. Sometimes you wheel them around in a little stroller. Sometimes they can't do anything. So, and they need you. And it's almost baiting you to be that controller. The whole thing is almost like baiting you. See, you are the controller. And you are the enjoyer. And these are this is Krishna. Krishna is actually the owner and the enjoyer. And so it's almost baiting us to think we're God. So parenthood can be the biggest, sort of TNT
Crash.
that explodes in your face, or M80 that goes off in your hand, because it's baiting you to think like, yeah, see, I knew it. I am the controller and I am the enjoyer. And this kid likes me and does whatever I say and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden something happens at age 12 and 13. They start going their own way. They don't listen all the time. They give you a little talk back.
No lip, huh?
Little lip. That's what my dad called it. Don't give me any lip. And then all of a sudden, sometimes they just do their own thing, especially American kids. American kids, unlike Indian kids, they're obedient till they're like 35, 45. They're still obedient to their parents. Americans were sort of like on our own at 12 or something. You were really on your own at 12, right?
Well, I'd say I just really started thinking for myself at that age. And by the time I was 15, I was really on my own.
Mara was like a good kid.
Good.
I wasn't really a good kid.
He was good.
Tell me the worst.
I'm not going to share anything
About
publicly.
the absolute worst. No, well, you were a good kid. When did you start like saying, no, I'm going to do it my way?
I don't know. I don't remember my teenage years so well. I'm certain I was a teenager though.
All right. I'm asking Papa Tony. He'll remember.
Yeah, talk to Papa Tony.
Okay. Anyway, and there's nothing more like frustrating. Therefore, like kids are your greatest teachers, they say. But it's really true when especially if you add it with bhakti, if you add wisdom with parenting, then you're like, oh, I get it. I thought I can control, and this kid is breaking me and I can't control. And what is there otherwise? It's frustrating. It's completely frustrating. If not like bitterness, when people develop bitter relationships with their kids. And so if you go into this thing with this little bit of wisdom, like Kahlil is saying, or that we know just by the practice of bhakti and the theories of bhakti, it's like, nope, you don't own any of these kids. You got them for a few days, you can love them, and then they're out. All we can do here is love. We can't control anything. We can't control anybody. We don't own anybody. We don't possess anybody. Sometimes even in a marriage, the person tries to possess you. They think by possessing you and keeping you on an ultra short leash, they can love you more. It's not love. That's not love. And it's not pleasurable for either one of you.
Marriage, blink if this is the situation, Mara.
Do I keep you on a leash, Mara? No
just
way.
blink.
She's born free. Look at her there at the house without me. She doesn't even need me. She's happy sitting there knitting. Anyway, it's the lesson, but here we're going to get the real deal. We can't own them because they're actually got nothing to do with us. In the
And because
same
someone
way,
else actually is controlling everything. There's another controller. There's another owner out there.
and in the big zoom out of things, they say it's like a river. You know, sometimes in the river, when there's a big downpour, we have a little creek in our backyard. So sometimes you see two pieces of grass come together, and they join together. They float down the stream for a while, and then another current comes, and those grasses separate. This is what we do. We come to people for a day, a season, a few years, a decades, and then we get split apart. And all we can do is love while people are with us. And of course, we believe that love is the highest thing, is you're sharing your spiritual experience with them.
Okay, Rago.
Kostuba.
I
You ever find that people you ever find people that are just like in your life forever and you're not even trying? Like you're like that. You've been in my life. You've been in my life for 35 years. I haven't even tried to keep you around. We just keep on coming together.
Nothing we can do about it.
Sri Rupa sent me a video of us like when we were in our 30s. And you know what's interesting? We weren't even living there. We came together for some program, the disappearance of your guru.
Yeah.
And
Texas.
yeah, we were in Texas. I was in LA, you were in New York, and I was like, oh, there's Kostuba. We've just been together. I have people like that. They're just in my life. No plan. I think there's just like some karmic bond. Ever have that? Ever have a person
Sometimes
you ever have a person you just meet and you feel like you know them and you're really like instant intimacy, complete friends? What's that about? Ever have that?
Then they become your Joe Davola.
No. No, I mean you feel like this is my.
Yeah, I definitely have had relationships like that.
Yeah. And then there's some you're like, what the hell? What was that about? Sometimes even that with family members too. So they're like, how am I related to you? Okay, right, ever have that? Like, we're related? Go home on a holiday. I was like,
no, but I think I've shared this on the show before, but I do remember being a little kid and saying, okay, like I live in this house with these parents and like they feel like they love me because I'm their kid, but I could just as easily be like in any of these houses. And, I remember thinking like that.
I like transcendental realizations as a child. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. And you're just like, it could have easily been. And then they wouldn't even know me or even talk to me if I was born in that other thing. Like my parents wouldn't even,
Right.
I remember thinking like that. And it's true. It's true. Think of those.
You're a deep child. You're like a little Buddha child.
Deep. Very deep. And, but my what I'm trying to work towards in life, it's interesting. You're saying, it's a fact. There's all these different relationship issues. There's these ups and downs, and I'm getting older in life, and like right now, I'm kind of playing a role. I'm in the middle of a conflict that other people are having. Like I'm kind of.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm doing what I can to just kind of help move it forward. Help. It is, you could say media, not exactly a mediator, but just trying to help move things forward. And I'm kind of like, you know what? I'm kind of cool with this old man peacemaker kind of role. I think, I prefer to be in this role than to be the attached. Like I used to be much more invested in certain outcomes, and I do feel I've let go of that, and I think that's a healthy thing for me, particularly at this age. And
what's this got to do with little kids? And
well, you were talking about how we try to control everything and how we end up in the middle of relationships that come and go together.
Okay.
Right? So I'm just speaking to that. But in any case, what we'll see here is the king is suffering due to his very strong attachment. This is my child, and now he's dead. And these sages are going to, with a few words, another thing we're going to
tell me.
When our conviction is very deep and our realization is very deep, often it's conveyed. People can feel it. One person can say something that has not much effect, but another person says the exact same thing, and and it penetrates.
Yeah.
And it
Like
seems
when
like
I
these,
tell you something, you don't listen, and when Brett Bihari tells you, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. I just said the same thing an hour ago.
no,
You
that's
mean like
not
you
at
mean like
all.
that?
No, not at all like that. Because that doesn't happen.
It does all the time. Mara, tell him.
It doesn't happen. And no, but I think these sages were like that. Their words, they
Mm.
penetrated deep into them. Let's get into it.
All right. But this is the famous whole chapter of reincarnation, and this is where I bring in the whole stuff about is that reincarnation guy that I love, Mara. There's
Dr.
a lady,
Ian Stevenson.
Ian
Is that who
yes,
you're thinking
Ian
of?
Stevenson, and he
Okay,
has
maybe we
this
get
whole
into that
thing,
later.
and this is very interesting. He has this whole thing where there's so many cases of children under the age of 4 who could remember their previous lives.
Okay, maybe
not
we
all,
should do
not
this.
all children under age of 4, but there are
Well-
children. There's a phenomenon. There's a bunch of children under the age of 4 that speak of their past lives, and oftentimes they find it's a child who died in a traumatic way, and they speak of places, people, things, names that are Googleable, like you could find them, and it's like uncanny. And Dr. Richard Stevenson,
Maybe the kids are Googling.
huh?
Maybe the kids are Googling.
Those little babies, man. There's like 2-year-olds, not Googling.
I think it all happened before Googling was around.
It happened before Google. It's still going on. Mara, do the research. Find the lady's name too, who does this.
So Raghunath, maybe when we get to that part where the kid comes back to life and starts to speak, maybe we'll do a little Ian Stevenson edition episode.
Yeah, we should. Matter of fact, if anybody has a story of a child, maybe
We've done that. We've done that show already.
Whatever. These things always have to be brought again because people need to hear them. If anybody's got any stories of their own kids or friends of kids that are talking about a previous life, let us know. I'll read it on the show, or
And then the
invite you to
kid
speak
looked
about
at
it on the show.
me and said, "Mommy, you killed me in my last life." Those kind of things. Why did you kill me in my last life?
Oh, the story about my one of my yoga students who said they had my daughter started speaking in Spanish. My daughter started speaking Spanish. We don't know. We don't have any Spanish. We don't watch a TV. She's homeschooled and she's speaking in fluent Spanish. She's like 3 years old. And then she explained how she died at her wedding. How crazy is that? Imagine if a 3-year-old saying stuff like that. Blows your mind.
Creepy.
Anyway, this stuff is. Anyway, I'm gonna get you a website on the board soon, and it's gonna blow your mind when you read these stories of people writing into this message board saying, "Listen, this is
Nothing more
crazy."
dependable than a message board.
When you hear how these people write, they say things like, "Listen, I never write to message boards like this, but my little child is saying the most uncanny things." Started Googling around, and I found this. Okay.
That's the proof right there, because they say they never write to message boards like this.
You don't believe
The proof
anything,
that-
do you? What are you such a
The proof
skeptic
that-
about everything? Can't you believe that people have other spiritual, out-of-body, metaphysical experiences besides your own, just because you haven't had them?
Well, you don't know that I haven't had them, Raghunath.
Okay, listen. All right, let's get this going. But anyway, this kid in the story is about to get up from being dead.
There's still some.
Lay the
We probably won't get there
absolute
today.
Oh, come on, man.
That may be next chapter even.
All right.
Sorry to disappoint you.
It is. All right, tomorrow or the next class I'm going to be at, I'm going to go through all these whole message boards, and I'm going to blow your mind. And you're going to be like, you know what? Raghunath's right. This is real
all true.
stuff. You'll only believe it. It gets me angry, Kastuba. You only believe it if it's from the Bhagavatam. You don't believe anything else.
No, Raghunath. I appreciate the work of Dr. Ian Stevenson. He approached it from a scientific. He took a scientific approach. But if anybody writes up anything on a chat board, I don't, take it with a grain of salt.
Well, maybe you shouldn't
What?
maybe you should hear them out.
I'm willing to hear them
Their
out.
story. That's part of
I'll
the
hear it.
it's part of the perpetual Bhagavatam that's going on today. Is
It
these
may
people
not be.
coming forth
It
with
may
their
be something else.
maybe
It may not qualify as the
as
eternal
Shabda Brahman.
vibrations as you Shabda Brahman.
All right. Narayanam namaskrityanam chaivanarottamam devim saraswatim yasam tatojayam madirayat. Before he started the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha vajreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati sloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Midatam Yena Tasmaye Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet.
Yeah.
Okay, here's, I just want to put this out there, that there's a very good mini documentary on YouTube. If you YouTube search Anne Frank reincarnation, there's this person that was Anne Frank's reincarnation, and she knew everything about Anne Frank as a little girl, blew everybody's mind, couldn't figure it out, told where she was hiding out in Amsterdam. Very interesting stuff. It's just uncanny stuff.
Okay.
And Kostuba, even though like we believe this stuff, you believe this stuff. When you read those Netflix documentaries that we were watching when I was in Colombia that time, remember we were watching
You were.
what was it called?
Surviving Death.
Surviving Death, episode 6.
Yeah.
I tell you, I believe in all this stuff. When I saw episode 6
I'm
of
aware
Surviving
that you believe
Death,
in all this
I was when I saw episode 6 of Surviving Death, I was like, oh my God, this is all real. This is all real.
All right.
Sometimes you need to just to like slap you up a little, just to see like this is happening right now.
Okay.
Okay.
If it works for you, Raghunath, I'm all for it.
Really? That's your last statement? Okay. Got a lot of things that work for me, man. Watch out.
No, but just keep them to yourself. That's my point. If it works for you,
Okay. Mara, can you please find that message board of the person who is the student of the professor I just mentioned?
Why don't we read text number 1? We're starting a new chapter today. Why don't we tell us the title? What's happening here?
Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 16. Is that
15?
15.
15.
The saints Narada and Angira instruct King Chitraketu. We'll never say Angira again, except without Christmas songs going through our head. Okay. Text 1. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, while King Chitraketu, overcome by lamentation, lay like a dead body at the side of the dead body of his son, the 2 great sages, Narada and Angira, instructed him about spiritual consciousness as follows.
No, they're coming in disguise, Raghunath. They look like avadutas.
What do you mean are they actually in disguise?
Yeah.
What kind of disguise?
They look like avadutes.
Well, they were sort of avadutes, weren't they?
No, they were like strict followers of Vedic culture. Now they look kind of like spiritual madmen. Okay.
Not necessarily okay. What relationship? Now they're going to get here's this. You got to picture this big dramatic scene. Guy just lost his son.
He's on the ground, literally
is
laid
out. The court is packed into this room, weeping around a dead child. And here come these 2 men come in here.
Loincloth, probably.
Yeah.
And
here's what they say.
Right. Well, right off the bat, Raghunath, this verse kind of gives a litmus test of whether something is real or not.
Something is real?
Yeah.
Okay. O king, what relationship does the dead body for which you lament have with you? And what relationship do you have with him? You may say that you are now related as father and son, but do you think this relationship existed before? Does it truly exist now? Will it continue in the future? Now, so this is the idea of sat and asat, right? So, so if you say what is real and what is unreal, so sat means it's eternal, and asat means it's temporary. So if we say this is sat, this is an eternal relationship. It happens in past, present, and future. What can I say about myself? I can't say I'm an Italian New Yorker. I can't say I'm 57. I can't even say I'm a male, because that doesn't happen in past, present, and future. I'm 57 years old. 59 years ago, I wasn't a male. So I can't say I'm a male. I can't say I'm any of these temporary identities.
It's not true.
That I know as myself. So the yogis say, this isn't even true. What is true about me? They say it has to be it has to happen in three phases of time. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's very interesting.
That's the litmus test. That's the litmus test right there.
So if I could say to Mara, what are you, Mara? She could think, well, I'm a knitter. No. She could say, I'm a chef. No. Because it's not true in three phases of time. Before you learned how to knit, you weren't a knitter, right? So we say the only thing you can actually say about yourself was, I'm a pure spirit soul. That's what you were in your last life. That's what you'll be after you die. And when we speak in these absolute terms, and the Bhagavatam will bring us back to this absolute reality on a regular basis. And in that absolute reality, we actually find peace of mind, actually, in this life.
That's what's going to help the king. And notice, it's interesting that the way they open up, they're about to start just kind of laying a few things down, but they open up with questions. So maybe that's a little bit of a softer approach in the beginning, Let me ask you a few questions, King.
Let me ask you a few questions. Let me
what is your relationship with this body?
Okay.
You might say that you're related as father and son, but do you think this relationship existed before? It didn't, did it? No? Okay. Does it truly exist now? No, it doesn't. Will it continue in the future? No, it won't. Okay. Then it wasn't real, was it? It was like a dream.
Yeah,
Poof.
It's interesting. Like my son Rocco, it's like I have a relationship with him. Where was that relationship before he was born?
Wasn't there?
Right. There was.
Although he was your father in the previous life.
In the previous life, he was my dad.
According to the palm reader.
According to the mystic palm reader.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was married to Grandma Terry.
Yes. Hey, Mara just put the name on the board who this was, Carol Bowman. And you'll find out that a lot of grandchildren were married to the grandparent.
Happens
It's
all
a
the time.
reoccurring theme.
It's real.
Yeah, because souls travel in clusters. Serious, it happens. It's documented stuff.
Well, we're going to talk about clusters in this next verse here, Raghunath. Okay. Let's hear.
In text 2. O king, what relation?
Text 3.
Text 3. O king, as small particles of sand, sometimes come together and sometimes separate due to the force of waves.
Clusters, huh?
Clusters. The living entities who have accepted material bodies sometimes come together and are sometimes separated by the force of time.
Come together.
Together. When seeds are sown in the ground.
I just want to read a little of the commentary to that one.
Text 3, okay.
Prabhupada writes, we are not the body. We are spiritual beings trapped in the body. Just close your eyes and just hear Prabhupada speak right to the core of your heart, okay?
Isn't it great to say trapped? Like we're actually trapped in this thing.
Yeah. Now listen, everybody close your eyes, take this in. If you're listening to the podcast on some podcast, close your eyes. If you're driving the car, close your eyes.
What?
No, just kidding.
You're driving a car, just close your eyes, just keep driving. It's going to be okay.
It'll be okay. It'll be fine.
I'll be over quick.
If you're meant to crash, you'll crash. If you're not meant to
Krishna's
crash,
divine plan.
Keep your eyes open if you're driving.
Told me to close my eyes.
We are not, here's Prabhupada speaking, right to the heart. We are not the body. We are spiritual beings trapped in the body. Our real interest lies in understanding this simple fact. Then we can make further spiritual progress. Otherwise, if we remain in the bodily conception of life, our miserable, material existence will continue forever. Political adjustments, social welfare work,
Ooh.
medical assistance, and other programs we have manufactured for peace and happiness will never endure. We shall have to undergo the sufferings of material life, one after another.
I just want to point out, because that was very powerful. I want to point
Yeah.
out, though, while you were doing that, I was looking on Zoom, and I was noticing half the people were just daydreaming, and the other half were in deep meditation with their eyes closed. And
Okay,
you know who you are. Anthony
And
M.
you
from
weren't even
Strong
driving.
Island was like in deep meditation. Sweet Mikey Prema was in deep meditation. Other people just la 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 la.
Well, they're going to have to take birth again and again. That's all I have to say.
Okay. All right.
I tried.
Yes.
All right. Text
right.
4.
Text 4. Text 4. When seeds are sown in the ground, they sometimes grow into plants and sometimes do not. Sometimes the ground is not fertile, and the sowing of seeds is unproductive. Similarly,
Let's hold for 1 second.
hold it up.
I would imagine at this point something's telling me it's Angira, not Narda speaking, right? Because this was King Chitraketu's whole thing. He was trying to sow seeds and nothing was growing, right? He had so many wives and he was desperately trying to have a son, and all the wives were barren. And so he's using an analogy, but it's kind of like one that hits very close to home. Why don't you start it again? Text 4.
When seeds are sown in the ground, they sometimes grow into plants and sometimes do not. Sometimes the ground is not fertile, and the sowing of seeds is unproductive. Similarly, sometimes a prospective father, being impelled by the potency of the Supreme Lord, can beget a child. But sometimes conception does not take place. Therefore, one should not lament over the artificial relationship of parenthood, which is ultimately controlled by the Supreme Lord.
Yeah. So in other words, say, it said that he had like 10 million wives, right? He had many, many wives, and he was trying to have this child over and over and over again. He could have just said, you know what? I'm not the controller. Perhaps I should just accept that this is God's will. But he didn't. He was trying to influence. So then he had this sage, and he said, "Sage, help me have a child." The sage helped him have a child, and then in no time, again, he was without a child. So there's a clue there that sometimes you just accept the will of God. Prabhupada, he ends this commentary. Close your eyes, everybody.
Close your eyes. I'm looking.
Everybody this
I'm
time.
looking now.
Okay.
Now everyone's like shaming, feel shamed. People are at the workplace right now. Danielle's at work, and I'm telling her to close her eyes.
Okay.
She's not at work. Okay, now you got to close your eyes then. Okay, go.
He says, one should act only to develop Krishna consciousness. For everything else, one should fully depend upon the Supreme Person. We should not create plans that will ultimately make us frustrated.
Open your eyes.
No, you can open your eyes now.
Okay, good. They had a higher percentage of people that close their eyes.
Now, I want you to read the commentary to this next one, Raghunath. We're going to get into the dream world here. Text 5.
Text 5. Okay. Both you and we, your advisors, wives, and ministers, as well as everything moving and non-moving throughout the entire cosmos at this time, are in a temporary situation. Before our birth, the situation did not exist. And after our death, it will exist no longer. Therefore, our situation now is temporary, although it is not false.
Okay.
Interesting, huh? It's temporary, but it's not false.
Not entirely false. Yeah.
Matter
it's real, but it's not real.
Matter is eternal. It's just in constant flux, like a wave. It comes up high, it's really high, then it goes really low, then it goes high again. That's our bodies. That's the whole material. Like I was sitting with my mom and these other old ladies at breakfast yesterday. They're all They're all like a few days away from being 100 years old. And they all grew up in Manhattan or in New York City. My mom's from Brooklyn. And they were all like, yep, I know all the names of these streets, but nothing is the same. Like nothing was on these streets that were there when I was young. So all the buildings are growing, changing, becoming modern. And then again, they'll crumble and new ones will be built up. And they're just that's our bodies. That's our own body. That's other people's body. It's
Our
building,
situations,
growing,
our
evolving.
circumstances too.
And then there's a witness, and that's the spirit soul.
Now, why don't you read the commentary? Everybody close their eyes. We're not going to read Prabhupada's commentary.
Text 6.
Text 5.
Text 5. Okay. Close your eyes. The Mayavadi philosophers say, Brahma Satyam Jaganitya. Brahman, the living being, is factual, but his present bodily situation is false. According to the Vaishnava philosophy, that's our philosophy, however, the present situation is not false, but temporary. It is like a dream. A dream does not exist before one falls asleep, nor does it continue after one awakens. The period for dreaming exists only between these two, and therefore it is false in the sense that it is impermanent. Similarly, the entire material creation, including our own creation and those of others, is impermanent. We do not lament for the situation in a dream before the dream takes place or after it is over. And so during the dream or during a dreamlike situation, one should not accept it as factual and lament about it. This is real knowledge. Now, this is very heavy to hear because we're really invested in the dream, isn't it? Yeah. You can open your eyes. I'm just making sure. I'm just bringing them back. But it's so interesting when you use this analogy because we've had dreams. I think it's safe to say we've all had dreams that are so real. They're so real that when we wake up, we're crying. Or like I said the other day, I had a dream that you and me were doing the podcast, and I told a joke, and I laughed so hard that I woke up. So it's like we've had dreams that have made us laugh. We have dreams that have made us cry. We have dreams that have make us sweat and our heart race. We've had dreams. Mara had a bad dream yesterday. I had an adorable dream last night. An adorable little dream of tiny little elephants, little baby African elephants the size of my dog. I'm serious. That's what I dreamt about last night. But then as I was playing and stroking this little elephant, the giant mother elephant saw me and got furious. So my dream went from adorable and all of a sudden to great fear. So where is that? The heartbeat was real. The sweating was real. The cuddliness and affection was real. It was just temporary. So what about my relationship to my daughters or my sons or your lover, etc.? Not only are they temporary, meaning like your husband may leave you or your wife may leave you, but they're temporary in the sense like the whole dream wraps up. Like I'm walking into my mom's room and I see pictures of her. I'm showing my son through FaceTime. It's like, this is grandma on her wedding day. And she's like, and my son was like, that doesn't even look like grandma. I was like, yeah, it's because it was 100 years ago. So
that's back when you were married to her. Oh, when your brother was married to her.
Yeah. So it's like these things. I mean, matter is changing so much; it's almost irrecognizable. That's the thing. So, this is another reason why it's great to have photos in your house of yourself in different ages of your life, because you see your body changing and you notice yourself as the witness of all these changes. And we're so desperately trying to find identity in something permanent, and there's nothing permanent about our bodies. It's just always in flux, and it assists you. I find it assists you on your road to spiritual, self-realization, is to see yourself and your loved ones go through these different forms. I think if you're without spiritual realization, it's just sort of sentimental and like, oh, the good old days and whatever happened. I remember when mom was young like that, and I remember when I was young like that, and the kids were young. It's just sentiment. But when you actually see it as a devotee, you start to realize, oh, I get it. we're just changing bodies and witnessing these bodies change. This is not me. And soon I won't be here. And these pictures will be in somebody's trunk somewhere in the attic, or buried or thrown into a dumpster. You you have to really zoom out of your entire existence as I am Kastuba. And that's what that is the gift of the Bhagavatam. It takes your spiritual identity, makes you understand the science behind it, and then you zoom way the hell out. And the beauty of that is it diminishes all the minutia of all your little problems that it seems so massive. Your massive problems are actually tiny. Can I tell you my first spiritual realizations, Kastuba? Some of my first spiritual realizations is when I would play hooky from school, when I would skip school when I was a kid. I used to skip school and I used to go fishing. That's what I would do. I was like Huckleberry Finn. I would skip school and I'd go fishing and I'd lay in the grass. I had this pond by my house, like 2 miles into the woods, and I would lay there, lay in the grass. And whenever my rational mind would say, "Oh man, you got a test coming up. You can't skip school. What are you, crazy? You've got, you're going to get AWOL'd. They're going to call your parents." And I would reflect about the 1500s, the 1600s, and I would think, who remembers anybody from the 1600s? Who do you remember? You don't remember anybody, do you? You could maybe 10 people. Who do we remember from the 1200s? Then I would think, in 100 years from now, 300 years from now, who's going to remember me? And who's going to give a crap if I skip school today? Nobody. That was my first, I don't know if you call it a spiritual realization, but a realization about we are as insignificant in one sense as the blades of grass in the field I was laying down next to. Now, you could also use that to do horrible things. You could say, okay, so why not rob a bank? Why do we're going to die? Who's going to remember if I rob a bank in 200 years? But when you put it in perspective of spiritual realization, it wakes up, it gets us out of our big ego-ness and puts us to a point of insignificance. And in that sense, it makes us see ourselves as part of something much greater than we are. That's all.
Thank you.
Well, you were sharing your childhood spirituality, and I wanted to tell the world that I was a spiritual child, too.
Thanking you. I'm thanking you. Very spiritual.
It's a very spiritual baby.
Okay.
Unfortunately, my parents didn't adhere to the same spiritual truths that I did. And when they got the AWOL, I got in a little trouble. Okay.
Text number 6.
Text 6. All right. Oh, this is a good one. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the master and proprietor of everything. Great definition of God right there. The master and proprietor of everything is certainly not interested in the temporary cosmic manifestation. Even like the planet Mars is a temporary manifestation. Even something that seems as solid as Venus, Saturn, Mars, the sun is just temporary. Nonetheless, just as a boy at the beach creates something in which he is not interested, right? Something in the sand. The Lord, keeping everything under his control, causes creation, maintenance, and annihilation. He creates by engaging a father to beget a son. He maintains by engaging a government or king to see the public's welfare. And he annihilates through the agents for killing, such as snakes. Keeping it real.
Snake bite.
Bringing it back to snakes. The agents for creation, maintenance, and annihilation have no independent potency. But because of the spell of the illusory energy, one thinks himself creator, maintainer, and annihilator.
Interesting sentence.
Yeah.
Interesting phrasing. The agents for creation, like in other words, Chitrikesh is saying, I created this child. I maintain this child, right? The agents for creation and maintenance and annihilation have no independent potency. If we somehow play a role in the creation, it's not that we have the independent power to do that. It's that we're kind of granted that power by the superior power. Prabhupada writes here, he says, no one can independently create, maintain, or annihilate. Text 7. You know, and this is kind of like it's getting right into Chitraketu's head. I'm not the creator. It's not my son. Somehow I was granted very temporarily some role. It was taken away from me. Look at me, right?
Sometimes you need strong advice when you're going through great pain. And sometimes you just want to cry and you don't want to hear
This
it.
is going to help him. You'll see.
This is going to help him. Okay. Text
7.
7. Thank you. Okay. As from one seed, another seed is generated. O king, so from one body, the body of the father, through another body, the body of the mother, a third body is generated, the body of the son. As the elements of the material body are eternal, the living entity who appears through these material elements is also eternal.
Okay. Go ahead, read the commentary.
Sure. From the
I mean, the message here, the message here is that the parents, in one sense, produce the body, although even that they don't have independent potency to do. But
no.
they don't create the soul. That's coming from a whole nother place. Right?
Interesting.
Yeah, go ahead.
From the Bhagavad Gita, we understand that there are two energies, namely the superior energy and the inferior energy. Inferior energy consists of the 5 gross and 3 subtle material elements. The living entity, who represents the superior energy, appears in different types of bodies through these elements by manipulation or supervision of the material energy. Actually, both the material and spiritual energies, matter and spirit, exist eternally as potencies of the supreme personality of Godhead. The potent entity is the supreme person, since the spiritual energy, the living being, who is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, desires to enjoy this material world. The Lord gives him a chance to accept different types of bodies, material bodies, and enjoy or suffer in different material conditions. Factually, spiritual energy, the living entity who desires to enjoy material things, is manipulated by the Supreme Lord. The so-called father and mother have nothing to do with the living entity. Isn't that interesting?
They're
As a
just creating
result of his
body
own
somehow.
choice and karma, the living being takes different bodies through the agency of so-called fathers and mothers. You know, this goes to this whole thing in the Mahabharata too, how, you know, Satyavati's family is giving birth to saintly kings, but then all of a sudden a demon takes birth in that family.
Mhm.
Who can and you think, what have I done so wrong that a demon is taking, like, how was my kid? There's so many stories, I'm not going to get into it, but so many stories of like the crazy kid or a murderer, the hateful being gets born into a good family. And the parents are like, what have I done? I can't believe my child did this. That'd be an amazing documentary. I'm sure there's documentaries like, you know, parents of evil.
Okay.
That would be a good documentary, you know, like think about someone like Mussolini, Pol Pot, you know, Mrs. Pot. What was Mrs. Pot like to have Pol Pot as their son? Mrs. Mussolini. I never thought I raised him really nice. You know, we take him to the park, and now all of a sudden he's a fascist.
He was my little bambino.
My little bambino. Mrs. Mussolini. Mrs. Pot.
Okay, Mariji, any takeaways for today?
I think I mentioned Pol Pot a lot on this podcast. A lot. He did some horrible things. But like, what was he a demon? Was he a demon to take birth to just ruin people's lives? Were his parents demoniac? Were they nice? Were they saintly Cambodians? Okay,
Do some
Mara.
research on that.
Your kids are not your kids.
Boom, straight out.
Boom. I'm going to Google Pol Pot right now.
Share what's valuable, but give them breathing room.
Okay.
Yeah, do that. Oh my God.
Parenthood can bait you to think you're in control.
You're not in control.
Don't make your family your mini God project.
Okay.
Don't make your family your mini God project.
All we can do is love.
Man, Pol Pot
Aw.
wasn't even his real name. His name was
we're
Saw.
gonna the whole love thing. Pol Pot wasn't even his real name.
He killed 2 million people. Like no one even talks about him. Okay.
You do.
You want to give us some more Cambodian history, or should I continue with takeaways?
He was the mass killing targeted intellectuals, Christians, and other religious people, and non-Khmer people who lived in Cambodia, country. Yeah. Communist Cambodian dictator. He's right up there with Idi Amin. Okay, let's continue.
In the big zoom out, or just blades of grass floating in the river.
Oh.
My heart
That's
flows
rubbing
like a river to the sea. That's a good song.
It
That's
is.
a good song.
It was.
Accept the will of God.
There we go.
Act
Accept the will
only-
of God.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just keep making plans and trying to make it happen, even when God's showing us it's not meant to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fate is the language of God.
Okay.
Take
Stop
that
and
away.
stop
Take that away.
investing in. Okay. Fate is the language of God.
Got it. Got it.
Got it. Stop investing in the dream.
Oh.
Your massive.
Wait a
problem-
second. Let's digest these. These are heavy things, Mara. These are heavy. Like I want you to.
Well, when I
want
pause
you
for
to
too
say it.
long, then you go into your Pol Pot Google searches.
Yeah.
Mara, I want you to
So I
say
try
these, but I want you
move
to
through
hear them and take them in. I'm your teacher. I'm your friend. I want you to take these into you.
Close your
I
eyes,
want you
Mara.
to carry them with you and snuggle them on your bosom. Okay, go on. Now that we're
Like,
all-
please don't talk about my bosom. Okay, let's continue.
don't talk about my bosom on the show. Is bosom one breast or both of them?
Let's move on.
Your massive problems are actually tiny.
Your massive
Massive
problem. They're like blades of grass. Whatever. Okay, let's make this for meditation. Take this into your bosoms. Into your bosoms. What some of you are going through a massive problem right now. Right? You know your massive problem is. It could be a person, it could be a thing, it could be a situation. Guess what? It's a blade of grass. In 400 years from now, no one's going to care about it. And you're not going to care about it. And even 10 years from now, I'm thinking back 10 years about my biggest problems 10 years ago. I don't even remember it.
Okay, we're gonna thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's continue on.
We have no independent potency.
No.
Nope.
No.
Hardly any potency at
And-
all. But
We got-
whatever we
we-
have, it's not independent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait a second. I'm putting up on the message board everybody's education and joy and fun. The carolbowman.com reincarnation-forum.
Which
I want
brings
everybody
me-
for extra. You get yes, thanks to Mara. She put that up for me. I want everybody to look at that, study it, come back with a good story tomorrow. Okay, go on.
and
And
chat board forums may be part of the eternal Bhagavatam.
And
chat
they may not
boards.
They
They may or may
They
not be. That's okay. But it's out there. The truth is out there, Kastuba. I want you to humble yourself to hear the absolute truth
I will not.
flowing from my lips.
I refuse.
Take it out, Kastuba.
I deny you.
Put it to your bosom. Can men
I
have
deny
bosoms?
you. I will
Mara,
not
can
take
men-
it to my
Can
bosom.
men have bosoms, or is it just a feminine thing?
I think
What if
men-
you identify as a woman? Can I then have a bosom?
I think it's
That's being debated as we.
definition is the
as we
human
podcast.
chest and especially the front part of the chest.
The
Yes,
human
men
chest.
you do have a
So it's
bosom.
human chest.
Yeah,
Female,
human
women?
chest. Men and
Male, female,
Oh, so it is my bosom.
male,
I do
female,
have a bosom.
trans. Everyone's
So
got
it's,
a bosom.
it's gender. Bosoms are gender neutral.
well, the
Yes,
next
not
definition.
like a binary thing.
A woman's breast is regarded especially as a single feature, like a woman with an ample bosom. But the first
Oh, wait.
definition is just
If a woman doesn't have an ample bosom, can they still have a bosom?
If they don't have an ample bosom, can they be alive because they got no chests?
The second definition is the chest conceived of as the seat of the emotions and intimate feelings, as in
That's
the
the
story
bosom.
you will take to your bosom, as you were saying, Ryan.
Okay.
Take
So
this to
everyone
your
can take the
bosom.
story to their bosom.
That should be the title of today's show. Take this to your bosom.
Here we go, people. I'm in it right now. Children's past lives, age 7 and under.
Those are the good
4
ones.
signs of child's past life memory. You ready? The youngest child seems to display some of the 4 signs. Last June, we were housed 250 miles away from Devon. The very
Hang on,
first time...
this isn't working. Trying to read it over the song like that. It's gonna- Hold that for the special
I
edition.
think people... All right, you know what? I think we should have an episode where I just read this message board.
Maybe you have to
problem.
do it for Sweet Baby Krishna. Just do like a Sweet Baby Mystic.
Sweet Mystic Baby.
Sweet Baby Memories.
Sweet.
Sweet Baby
Are you
Past
trying
Life
to? Are you
Memories.
trying to minimize me, Kastuba?
No, I'm trying to frame this out in its proper form.
Don't dismiss this wisdom, Kastuba.
I'm not
Wisdom comes in
dismissing
all
it.
forms.
Raghunath, not only am I not dismissing it, I'm taking it to my bosom.